today we are welcoming Oscar Kelly. He is a British para-triathlete. Very exciting to meet Oscar because Oscar became the British champion in 2021 and he's gone on to place exceptionally well in many competitions, including the World Triathlon Para Series in Montreal. And it's really just to find out a little bit about you today. So hi, Oscar. Nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. You're doing very well for such a young man. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, no, I'm doing all right. I wasn't always into sport. I didn't really get into competitive sport until I was 16 or 17. I was very much that kid at school who was picked last at PE. Comes to no surprise that I was not great at ball sports. And I know that doesn't go for everyone with bad eyesight, but it definitely goes for me. So I guess start from the beginning. My condition is a genetic condition, so my mum's got it and my granddad has as well. And our side of the family always came down the route of you're no different to your siblings who don't have visual impairments. You know, you'll be treated the same. You're expected to do exactly the same. And
can I ask you? Can I just ask, just for the listeners, what's the name of the condition and how it manifests itself? Because I think that'd be really helpful for people to know.
So I've got cone rod dystrophy is the official name, but that covers so many things. It's basically congenition, as I said, and it just appears from central vision loss. It can cause a couple of other little complications, just stigmatisms, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, generally central vision loss. It's just degenerative, so it's slowly getting worse. I like to say I got like an old granny's eyes, just really crap. To put it nicely, they just don't work all that well. But yeah, it's something that has been passed down, and I was treated the same as my sisters. I was expected to do the same, but also when it came to sport, I was allowed to do whatever I wanted. If I wanted to do anything, I came from a fairly active family, but none of us competed in anything. We just took part, and I'd been doing whitewater kayaking for 10 years at that point, and riding my bike, just a normal mountain bike, no different. I used to cycle to school, and then I got banned from cycling to school because I was quite very reckless. Very shocking coming from a teenage boy being reckless. But yeah, no, I did a couple of silly things. Got banned by headmaster after whizzed past him on my bike because I was late for school, and my parents yeah, I know it's only a month ban, but you're never cycling to school again. I'm like, I've got to work out a way to cycle somehow because I taught myself when I was 2, and I was I just hadn't been off a bike since. And then I tried a bit of cycling. There were British Cycling were holding para days, and I just rocked up and borrowed a road bike, which I'd never been on before. And I'm like, yeah, let's give this a go. And you would not have been able to get me on a tandem to save your life. Honestly, I was like, no, I'm not going on one of those things. I'm not. It's going to sound bad. I'm not blind. I'm not reliant on anyone else. I'm very much independent. I'm going to do it myself, sort of thing. So going to mainstream school, I wasn't surrounded by people with visual impairments all that much, and the people that was generally just family, and it was, you're not treated any different. Things are going to go badly in the future. This is what's going to happen. You've got to deal with that yourself. And I'm like, I don't want to be reliant on people. I want to be able to do my own thing for as long as I can, sort of thing. And even after that, so my mum's lost all her vision, and she is amazing at what she does. She's a lecturer, the main bread winner in the family, but then also she cooks, she cleans around the house and all that stuff. It doesn't stop her from doing what she wants to do and doing daily life stuff. So I was like, I can still do this. I've still got enough vision. So I took part in some of British cycling stuff, and I'm like, cool, but I'm getting a bit bored. But I came across someone who's now a very good friend who's got a different condition, not sight loss, he's got a muscular condition, and his mum was just chatting to my dad and just going, oh, have you heard of para-triathlon, all this stuff? And, I've got family friends that have done triathlons and all that, but didn't know it was a thing for young people, let alone, para sport. And it was more going, oh, yeah, just do able-bodied, it'd be fine, all that stuff. And I took part in a couple of triathlons, which are run, bike, run, and I did pretty well. I was hitting podiums against able-bodied athletes, just like it's local event, but hitting podiums against. similar age people, but I look back now, I'm like, oh, I was so slow. But at the time, I'm like, oh, I
But
can
you
do
didn't think
this.
so at the time, so that's all that matters.
Um, and then I was like, I should probably learn how to swim properly because yeah, I can stay afloat, but I can't. I got in the pool for the first time. I'm like, oh, I'm struggling to make 25 meters here without having to stop. But yeah, just trying to learn how to swim. And the club that I went to, the person there knew someone in British Triathlon who was at the time the pathway manager, and I just popped along to one of their training. I think it would have been a weekend for them, or a few days training up here in Loughborough, and that was what we would call a talent ID, where they look at you, look at what you're able to do,
Hmm.
and decide if you come onto the pathway. It was very different back then to how it is now. It's a lot better supported now than it was back then. But I
Yeah.
showed up on my solo bike. I was there ripping around this closed course for a couple of hours, just like against other people with different disabilities, namely Claire Cashmore, who I train with all the time now. She's what, 9-time Paralympic medal holder in swimming and triathlon now. And, I was taking all the inside lines, trying to get around her any way I could if I saw an opening, and just get a little bit of fun. But it was like, oh, you're going to take a break? You've been going around for 2 hours straight. I'm like, no, that's great. Let's go and do some more.
Obviously, there's a lot that you need to do. But how do you balance the swimming, running, and cycling?
That's quite a personal. It's different for different people. So it's hard to get a balance. I didn't cycle for a long time, if I'm honest. Came from a cycling background, but
Right.
because I'd be on what we call turbo, which is an indoor bike, because it's no longer safe for me to ride on my own. I didn't cycle for a long time, and I probably suffered because of it. My cycling is probably my worst now out of all of them. But you generally have higher swim and cycle volume compared to your run because you're less likely to get injured swimming and
Okay.
cycling.
You've taught me something
Um,
new today. I didn't realise that.
Cycling is probably the one that's least bad for your body, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's not weight bearing and it's using muscles that you use all the time for getting about.
Right.
It's where swimming, you're using your whole body and it wears on you mentally and physically, and just you can pick up niggles. I've got a history of picking up niggles quite a lot in swimming.
Yeah.
Not injuries, but tight spots, things that hurt, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And so now I'd say cycling is still the one that I do the most volume of. Now I do the amount of volume I should be doing. Then it's a couple of hours less of that of swimming, and then probably about half that of running, and then a couple of hours of gym. So all
That's
up,
very, very, very disciplined of you to be able to do all of that.
I've got a lot of time. um, all up, I'm sort of working back up from illness. So I'm currently about 18 hours. I'll be going up to about 20 hours soon of training a week,
Oh,
which is okay. I'd be wanting to go back up to like 25 to 30 being a big week.
goodness.
Just over a
That's,
year ago, I was doing 27-hour weeks, so it was a bit too much for me at that point in time. But one day we can hopefully get back there. So
it's a huge
it's
commitment, for
a lot of
sure.
volume.
Yeah, a lot of volume, but massive commitment. I mean, I'm always in awe of all athletes who are so dedicated and disciplined. Um,
I I'm fortunate to be on world-class programs, so I do get paid to do this, which
which is
is a big
amazing.
help. It's definitely a big help for sure.
Talking about it being a world class program, since you've started competing in the triathlons, what do you feel has been your greatest achievement?
Oh, that's a hard one. I've done a lot of really cool things.
Right?
I must say, I'm still yet to win a race. There's been a lot of close calls, but I've not quite won one yet. I'm always, right next to the podium or on the podium, but never quite on the top. Competed at Commonwealth Games, which didn't go to plan. That's a sore memory. We got a couple of mechanicals in that race, and that really slowed us down.
Mm-hmm.
But that was such a cool experience. I've had, I think now, 6 or 7 World Series podiums now, something like that.
So,
Which I think are all second places. To be fair, I don't think I've. I think I've
hey,
only got
listen,
second places there.
Second
But
place and sniffed at.
we're slowly getting there. It's definitely a sport where the older you are, the better, the more time you've had to train.
Yeah.
We'll get there
And,
eventually.
and given that you've been doing it for the length of time that you have, if somebody else was to sort of take up triathlon, say tomorrow, what advice would you give for somebody setting out?
Don't faff about, just do it. I spent lots of years messing about, pretending to do training, and I didn't. There's some of the stuff in there. I wasn't classifiable for a long time, which was pretty hard. We only raced the B1, B2, B3 categories, and I was declassified. I was initially classified as a 3, and I got declassified, and that was very demoralising for me. And then COVID happened just after I got classified, which was not fun. But the best thing you can do, obviously, go do a race, make sure you like it, first of all, because there's no point, if you put so much time and effort into it, there's no point doing it if you
No.
don't like doing it. But then learn to love training. Generally, the things in training, the things that you hate most is what you need to work on. So you
Okay.
got to learn to push past that and just do it. Don't look at what I do and go, oh, he does that much training, I've got to be doing that much training. It's about consistency, and it's taken years to be able to work up to this point where I can do that much training. And
Mm-hmm.
the guy that wins everything, Dave, who also races for GB, he does more training than I do, and it's taken years for him to get up to that point as well. Consistency is everything. So even if you can only knock out, you know, up to 5 hours a week,
Yeah.
or 5, 6 hours a week, doing that every single week is better than doing 10 hours one week, 3 weeks off, or 3 weeks of 1 or 2 hours. Just tick along and slowly push it along. Like, you want to mix it up, and I definitely recommend joining clubs and stuff.
Yeah.
But just have a plan, and that doesn't mean that you have to do that every single week, because it's healthy to take weeks off and take easy weeks where you might reduce your training. There's millions of ways of how training works for different people, so you've got to work out what works for you. But the key for everyone is consistency works.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be consistent, find what works for you, but you've got to be consistent with it,
You're going to
and
stick to it.
that's going to be what works best. My second bit of advice is, if you want to get into triathlon, is to get in contact with British Triathlon, because they will try and give you as much support as they possibly can. I'd
Really good to
suggest
hear.
doing a bit of training beforehand and getting into things, to go, look, I've made this effort to try and do a bit of training and everything, and then go along to one of the talent IDs so they can see basically what your potential is, what they can see in you. And they could see potential in me, and I was struggling to get through 100 meters of swimming. And the support system's a lot better now. They've got anywhere from grassroots all the way up to world class programs. So even if,
Brilliant.
like, you're really, really just a beginner, they will try and support you. They've got limited resources, but they will do their best to try and support you, or at least keep in contact. And even if you don't get onto one of the squads, the best thing you can do is just turn up at the races. We've got a pretty decent, what we call Super Series. It's a set of races throughout the year,
Yeah.
and you pay your membership, you turn up and you pay to get into the race, and just go do your thing, take part. And the best thing you can do is go, look, I'm doing this, I don't want to give up on it, just keep chipping away, and you'll get noticed. That's a lot of advice, but
Can I
that's
just
what
say
I
that
would do if I
last
was
bit?
starting over.
That last bit is really good advice. So keep chipping away, and being consistent, and you'll get noticed. That's fantastic. The Paralympics are around the corner, which is an exciting time for
Yep.
disability sport and just sport generally as well. It's a real celebration. What are your hopes for the Paralympics GB team?
Well, I cannot confirm or deny if I've been selected or not, but things look promising. Going to the games in the first place would be awesome, but if I go to the games, I don't want to just go to the games. I want to turn up and do my best. And everyone says that, but when I say turn up and do my best, I'd be looking for a podium. It's probably a little bit out of reach, but you never know what can happen on the day. And yeah, if I don't get on the podium, I'd be pushing the guys on the podium all the way to the last step, sort of thing. just first games, see what happens. Magic can always happen in big competitions, and hopefully a few things come my way. I don't have the bad luck of Commonwealth Games, and yeah, hopefully
Of course,
do.
and we wish you all the best with that. We really do. Just going back to our work, British Blind Sport, and working with different athletes from different backgrounds, right from grassroots to elite across all sports. What do you see as somebody who is living and breathing sport? What do you see the main challenges for blind and partially sighted athletes today? And how can they best overcome those challenges?
I feel like, although it's not physically the most demanding disability,
Mm-hmm.
being visually impaired or blind is probably one of the more challenging ones because you don't necessarily have the same independence of other disabilities. And
Yeah,
that's a vast generalization. And that's looking at the disabilities that compete in my sport, which are wheelchair users and then standing categories. So that's amputees, people with CP and stuff. But the main challenge for especially blind but also visually impaired athletes is being safe around taking part in sport, having
yeah,
that safe environment where you can do it. A lot of the time that means that you're reliant on, say, if you're going for a run, running with someone else, and
yeah,
or if you're trying to set up a piece of equipment or something, or go to the gym, it's going with someone so things can get sorted out. And obviously everyone's different, and some people can have that independence, and that is great for those people, but that doesn't go for everyone, and that can be one of the biggest challenges, I think. And
mm-hmm.
actually, just going for those people who are very independent, like I generally am, it's being able to just go, okay, no, I need a bit of support here.
Yeah.
Just being open to getting a bit of help, and just doesn't mean that you're not doing it. It's just how you can access sport.
Yeah. Very honest of you, being able to say, the question is what are the challenges, but also how we overcome them. It is being able to trust that others will help, but also to raise your head above the parapet and say, I need support here. Because just talking about British Triathlon, for example, you've just said how supportive they are. So it goes to prove that if you ask for the help, certainly within your sport, and I'm sure many, many others, that people are willing to give you that support. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, there's nothing bad can come from asking for anything in life,
No,
generally. Like, whatever it is, sport related or anything in your life, if you ask, the worst that people can say is no.
that's right.
And there's so many opportunities you can get if you do ask, and someone goes, oh, we'll see, or oh, that's a good
Mm-hmm.
idea.
Yeah.
Generally, there's so many things that can come from that, and all you've got to do is ask, and yeah, be yourself, realistically. And
That's a really good piece of advice. So, my final question, but linked to that, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received? And it could be sport related or not sport related, but what's the best piece of advice that helps you move forward in life? It's a
there's a
lot.
lot. I'd probably go back to my mum and my granddad and just going, you're no different to anyone else. You've just got a couple more challenges that
Mm-hmm.
you've got to work your head around. You can do anything that anyone else can do.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a solution for things, but you know, you're not owed anything in life. You've got to work for it, but you can do anything that anyone else can do.
Mm. Well, I think that's a really good piece of advice that, you got to work for it. And we know that you're working for it, and we wish you the best of luck, both for the selection and if you're lucky enough to go ahead to enjoy the games and the experience. And, we'll be screaming at the telly, going, come on, Oscar. Yeah, because,
You'll probably be screaming, "Oh, why is he going so slow?" It's all good. Thank you very
yeah,
much. I appreciate the
no,
support as always.
good luck, and we'll be rooting for you.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Oscar.
much.